You're live.
Madam Mayor, it's 6 o'clock and we're live.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Tuesday, December 1st, regular City Commission meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Here, Pam Triolo,
Here.
Vice Mayor Andy Amoroso,
Here.
Commissioner Scott Maxwell,
Here.
Commissioner Herman Robinson.
Here.
Thank you.
If everyone would please rise for the invocation and the pledge. Almighty God, you are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our tasks with wisdom, and may we approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work this day. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
Amen.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Additions, deletions, reordering, Madam City Clerk?
Madam Mayor, there is one addition tonight. You're going to be reading a proclamation for World AIDS Day, which happens to be today.
And
Mr. Robertson?
I would regrettably like to pull item C under consideration.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
And one other thing, I don't know where we stand in communication with the governor's office in terms of being able to battle our COVID fight, but whether we want to join other mayors or send a letter ourselves or act on our own, sense of urgency, but I think we need to make some steps to recognize that the virus is not gone yet. So I don't know whether we want to put it, how we want to do it, but I can make that comment under, commission comments, or do we want to consider a letter to the governor?
Okay, this isn't the right place to do it, but I think.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, let's just look at the agenda right now. As for the item, what is it? C?
Yeah, and that would be under, I guess, new business, or whenever you want to.
Yeah, new business. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Aye. All those opposed?
Hey.
Mr. Amoroso?
Aye.
You were aye? Okay. All right, motion carries. Let's go. Yeah, commission liaison reports and comments.
Nope.
Vice Pro Tem?
Madam Mayor.
I'm sorry, President. I do that all the time. I don't know what it is about that letter. Okay. So let's go.
There should be 2 proclamations.
Yeah, I've got it. Hold on. Okay, the first up. Now, I don't know if we were able to get the new owner of Farmer Girl to be on the call with us tonight. I think they were working or something. Do you know anything, City Clerk?
It's my understanding that they will be listening, or they will
Okay.
listen at another time, but they're excited.
Okay, good. All right. Whereas 35 years ago, Farmer Girl Restaurant decided to support the community of Lake Worth Beach by helping those in need. And whereas Farmer Girl, located at 1732 North Dixie Highway in Lake Worth Beach, has provided free homemade Thanksgiving Day meals to the homeless and anyone else in need from 1985 to 2016 under the leadership of Mr. Peter Rubekas. And whereas his nephew, Petro Bikos, who has taken over the restaurant's leadership now, wanted to revive the tradition and follow in his predecessor's footsteps by preparing and serving free Thanksgiving to the community again, starting this year. And whereas Mr. Petro Bikos understands that so many people have been greatly affected by the COVID-19 global pandemic, with unemployment and with many people not having the resources they had before the pandemic hit, and understands that people need help now more than ever. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach is so grateful for Mr. Petro Bikos and Mr. Peter Rebecca's efforts and hard work, as well as staff members and all the volunteers who took the time and dedication to prepare, serve, and deliver meals to those in need. Now, therefore, I, Pam Triolo, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, do hereby proclaim December 1st, 2020 as Farmer Girl Restaurant Day in the city of Lake Worth Beach in recognition of the generous contribution to the city of Lake Worth Beach community. Yay. Thank you for this holiday. This certainly was a year that it was definitely needed above and beyond. And they're just a lovely family, and we're so honored to have them here in this beautiful city of Lake Worth Beach. They represent the very best and what this community is all about, and we're so very grateful. Okay, now we have the proclamation that was added. And I want to apologize too. I was supposed to be at Compass, their celebration, obviously, of this, and their honoring those who have passed happens at Compass and starts at 6 o'clock, right when our meeting started. So I was unable to be there to read the proclamation live. I did send over a recorded version of it, so I hope that they got that to work. And if not, I'd like to do that here at the meeting as well. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has changed our world immeasurably over the past few months, and that a 6-month disruption to medical supplies could result in an additional 500,000 AIDS-related deaths in sub-Saharan Africa alone by the end of 2021. And whereas worldwide, an estimated 38 million people are living with HIV, and an estimated 1.7 million new infections occurred in 2019. That's about 4,500 new infections every single day. Whereas worldwide, 19% of people infected don't know their status, and only 67% of persons with HIV are currently accessing life-saving antiretroviral therapy, or ART. Whereas the global spread of HIV infections and AIDS necessitates a worldwide effort to increase communication, increase education, and action to stop the spread of HIV. And whereas the Joint United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS observes December 1st of every year as World AIDS Day, and leads and inspires the world to achieve its shared vision of zero new HIV infections, zero discrimination, and zero AIDS-related deaths. And whereas the 95-95-95 ambitious global plan to help end the AIDS epidemic has set its targets for 2030 that 95% of all people with HIV will know their HIV status. 95% of all people with diagnosed HIV will receive sustained ART, and 95% of all people receiving ART will have viral suppression. Whereas in Palm Beach County, more than 8,200 persons are living with HIV, and about 1 new infection occurs every day. And the Palm Beach County HIV Community Prevention Partnership and the Palm Beach County HIV Cares Council, through its partners, are working together to renew HIV/AIDS awareness and to expand and strengthen the local effort to stop the spread of HIV in Palm Beach County on World AIDS Day. Now, therefore, I, Pam Triolo, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim December 1st, 2020 as World AIDS Day. And I urge all residents in the city to take part in activities and observances designed to increase awareness and understanding of HIV/AIDS as a global challenge and to join the global effort to prevent the further spread of HIV/AIDS. With you there in spirit. Okay, let's move on to Commission Liaison Reports. Vice Mayor Pro Tem, you want to get us started?
Sure.
Thank you.
First of all, I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Obviously, this year was kind of different for a lot of us. I'm sure most of us were in very small groups for Thanksgiving, which is really not the norm for us, but it's one of the things we have to start adjusting to with this pandemic. But I hope everybody, however you celebrated, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Couple things related to Thanksgiving. First of all, I was blessed to be a part of a project to provide 1,200 turkeys, 1,200 bags of groceries for some of the neediest families here in the city of Lake Worth Beach. And I was able to coordinate through a number of local churches and nonprofits such as Arms of Hope down on Wingfield Street and For the Children. And like I said, a number of churches. And it was a really, really great event. We had a lot of wonderful volunteers. They really, knocked it out. That's a lot of food to put together and bag up. And I estimated that we had about 18 tons of food that we were able to give away. And that's just phenomenal. That's just a lot of food. That's just a lot of food. So thank you all to the volunteers who helped out. And I hope that those who received the turkeys or whatever, I hope we were able to, in some small way, to take a little pressure off of their Thanksgiving and make it a little bit easier. So, again, I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day itself, I did, speaking of Farmer Girl, I went and spent a few hours with Petro and his team up there and volunteered as they served their free turkey dinners for the first time since Petro has taken over. And he had a really nice crowd of folks coming in. I'm quite sure it wasn't quite the same as it has been in the past. Again, the pandemic has caused a lot of folks to be very apprehensive about, getting out and bustling about, but there was still a strong turnout. And I know that Petro and his team are very pleased to have been able to help some folks. So thank you all very much, for letting me volunteer there. I really, really enjoyed that as well. And finally, I guess this will be the one meeting in December that we're going to have. I want to wish everybody a happy Merry Christmas or happy holiday, however you celebrate the Christmas season, the holiday seasons. I wish you and your family nothing but the best and brightest. 2020 has been a really interesting year, and I'm sure a lot of us are looking forward to January 1st here very, very quickly to see if it's a little change of pace. But I wish everybody the best of the holidays, and that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Yes, Thanksgiving is a wonderful time of year. It demonstrates people's generosity and you get from giving. Today was a day of giving, and hopefully those that could did. Today we also buried a jazzy senior. Meg Goodstein is no longer with us, and she was a successful, had a career, a professional career, and added to the community in Lake Worth Beach. I wanted to thank Ed Liberty for making FDOT aware that they're responsible for the lights on the bridge. I want to be glad that we're through the hurricane season of 2020. I look forward to a meeting on the 15th. Good. Because I'd like to talk about a gender review, maybe before that or after that, but maybe to make our agendas more efficient, or at least something that we look forward to rather than not. I also look forward to report. We had a contract for public-private partnership in November of 2019. And I'm interested in what we're doing with that and if we're going to do anything with it in the near future. So either we can hear about it tonight or be on the agenda for next meeting. But I think it's important enough that we get down to business looking for a public-private partnership development on the oceanfront park. That's it. And it's almost a whole new year. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm happy to continue to host with Feeding South Florida and CRA, our Tuesday drive-through feeding. We have extended it to the end of December at the moment. We're waiting to see if we can get an extension from there. But if you probably heard in the news, there's a shortage of food coming into the food bank. So we're very happy to be able to continue that right now. I want to thank Commissioner Maxwell. He had some food left over from his giveaway, and we also had 250 boxes left from another giveaway at the warehouse. And I want to thank Officer Donovan and his group. He stepped up and they came and got the rest of the food and pushed it out before Thanksgiving to Little Smiles and some other groups that needed a little extra helping hand. So I want to thank them. I want to thank Emmerich and his team and the parking team because they come out every week and help us distribute the food and, you know, make that happen. Big thank you to everybody that voted for me. South Florida Gay News every year does the best of the best, and I was voted the best elected official in Palm Beach County. So I want to thank everyone that voted for me, and that's all I have now.
Okay, thank you. More great things to celebrate too. On Saturday, the 28th, the City of Lake Worth Beach football team, or Lake Worth Beach Jaguars, 14U seniors and 8U Mighty Mites won their District 5 championship games at the Mfcc tournament in Clewiston.
Yay.
Yay!
We are the best of the best.
We are the best of the best.
Cheerleaders.
In fact, one of the teams, I think they beat like the sixth highest ranked team in the state of Florida that they defeated to get to it. So now they've got the next, what is the finals? I forget what I'm so sporty.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
Super Bowl's next. Is that what the next Super Bowl's next? Having secured this victory, the teams will be competing, here it is, in the MFFCC Conference Championship in Lake Placid on December 5th. And it says all teams played extremely well. And for two teams to proceed to the conference championships in a tournament of this level is huge. So I still remember back in the day, when they were trying to eliminate the sports programs, right? When we
first came on.
when we first came in and we're like, no. And now we're winning these giant championships and our kids are active and engaged, which is awesome. A couple other things too. Happy Thanksgiving. I know it's past that, but I hope that you all got the chance to enjoy some turkey or something yummy with your loved ones. The tree lighting we had, everything's been different. We, Veterans Day, we did our virtual Veterans Day, and the tree lighting we did virtually too. Leisure Services asked me to read the night before Christmas, and that was a real treat. I was actually nervous. I don't know why I was nervous.
You can go back and watch it.
I talk all the time. I don't know why I was so nervous, but it was so fun. And we had the I can't even think of the Victorian singers. Yeah, they were just wonderful. And then we lit that tree, looking good. That tree is looking absolutely beautiful. So sorry we couldn't have, a lot of people saw what we were doing and gathered around and they were like, why aren't the microphones on? Yeah. Like louder. I'm like, no, we're doing it for on social media. So they were all sitting there, even though they're watching us, they were tuning to our Facebook page and listening on that page. So it was really exciting. I was and I'm so sorry to hear of May's passing. This is the first time hearing of it. Just my heart goes out to the family, and just my thoughts and prayers are with y'all. And the Jazzy Seniors, I was just out for the bench dedication. That was right out there in front of the gym and the Osborne Center. They do so much in the community, and these are some very active, wonderful people, and they do so much for our community. And it's nice that they have this lovely bench now out there. So I'm sending my love out to them. Had the employee pension board meeting. All is good so far. I don't know if I mentioned last time, but our pensions are in top shape that it's been in a long time. So for the employees and the police of our former police department, things are solid there. I also want to mention South Palm Park. Got a call from Cheryl, and she said that December 12th, all the lights, I know a lot of people come from different areas of the city to enjoy the lights in the median in South Palm Park. They have a very unique neighborhood scape where city landscaping runs a median down from the top to the bottom of South Palm Park. So every year they put on a great show. I'm hoping to get out there and help them fill in a few spots. I would encourage my other commissioners, if you can join me. I've asked Cheryl, donated a bunch of boxes last year, and I don't think they got to use them all. So I've asked Cheryl if we could come in and take one of those spots that maybe doesn't get decorated, and as a commission work together to do that. So you're all invited for that. And again, the 12th after the sun sets. And another interesting call I had today through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, basically had a chance to meet Dr. Vivek Murthy, worked in the Obama campaign. He is now one of 3 people that there are the transition team advisory board for COVID-19 for President-elect Biden, and basically talking about COVID-19. What are some of the things that we're going to be doing, getting the money to communities? People, they don't realize it's not, a lot of big cities are represented at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, where the monies do go directly to a big city, but our money goes to the county, on these types of things. And then it gets distributed down to us. It's not a direct handoff to our cities and towns. So I was hoping that maybe we can bring back an agenda item in the coming weeks of maybe bring in someone from the county where we can discuss what the distribution plans are for the COVID vaccine. Just, we were kind of taken by this whole COVID-19 thing in the beginning when we had our testing sites, and eventually ramped up. And I'm sure it's going to be much the same way, whereas it goes to first responders and teachers and things, people like that first, and then it'll get trickled down into cities and towns. But it would be nice if we can have an update from the county and see what their distribution plans are for a vaccine, so that we have that in place. COVID left us all developing on the fly because we didn't have pandemic really, we've never had this before. So it'd be nice now, after having been through this, all we've been through, and had the successes we've had. We probably had more testing sites in our city per capita than any other city in Palm Beach County. And I'm very proud of that. And we worked hard for it. And I want to thank the county for also aiding that, and all the nonprofits that have stepped up, and volunteers and staff that have made it possible. As Commissioner Robbins said earlier, it's not over, and we still have things to deal with, but I just want to make sure that we're transitioning for the next steps, and we know what's going to be coming down from the county. So that would be real important. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was chatty today, but public participation of non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Madam City Clerk.
I have just one, Madam Mayor. Wes Blackman at 241 Columbia Drive. I address you tonight as a person concerned about our government at all levels and its response to the COVID crisis facing our city, county, state, and nation. The governor seems to think that the Titanic will have enough lifeboats until there's a vaccine. That's too high a risk to take in terms of public health and safety. I implore our city government to increase its messaging about the importance of wearing masks, social distancing, and discouraging even small gatherings. Use your YouTube channel and your public megaphone to remind residents and visitors of the extreme contagiousness of this virus and its serious and sometimes unknown long-term consequences. Let Lake Worth Beach lead the way out of this dark period and provide needed public health and safety information until this crisis passes. Too much information is better than too little. It is also important to reach out into the non-English speaking community in town, as often they have no choice but to work in challenging living and working conditions. Thank you. That's the only comment, Madam Mayor.
Approval of the minutes, we don't have any. Consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Are you an aye or a nay?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to public hearings. All of these, as you remember, we had our presentations done the last time. These are second readings. Let me see. Yeah, all
The
of them are.
first one has been moved, Madam Mayor, the first one has been moved to December 15th, item A. So it starts on item B.
Okay. And again, these are all second readings. So the presentations were done the last time. If you have anything you'd like to add, or if you've done any, further investigation, or you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll move through. Ordinance number 20. I'm sorry, Commissioner Robinson?
I'm concerned about this, this is the one with the artificial turfing, and it's not in there. It will be addressed at a later meeting, right?
Yes.
So I just want the public to know that.
Yeah, that's what we had decided last time. We all agreed on it, honestly. Ordinance number 2020-15, City Attorney, would you read the ordinance, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I need to ask the city clerk a quick question. Was the title changed at all from first reading to second reading? Because the actual ordinance wasn't in the backup.
Aaron?
Yes, we modified the title to remove the exhibit and the section related to artificial turf.
Okay, because I don't have the actual, you just removed the artificial turf portion?
Only exhibit G, yes.
Okay.
There's
so-
another landscaping section that's in there that has to do with mulch.
Okay, I just deleted that, then I'll just read it as is without that. Thank you. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, please.
This is ordinance 2020-15, an ordinance of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 23 land development regulations by amending article 1 general provisions, division 2 definitions, section 23.1-12 definitions, article 4 development standards, section 23.4-15 cemetery, mausoleums, and columbariums, article 4 development standards, section 23.4-19 outdoor storage, Article 4, Development Standards, new section 23.4-22, parking, storing, or keeping of commercial vehicles in non-residential districts. Article 4, Development Standards, section 23.5-1, subsection 12, temporary signs. Article 6, Environmental Regulations, section 23.6-1, landscape regulations. Article 6, Environmental Regulations, and providing for severability, the repeal of laws and conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
Second.
Second.
All those, are there any public comments, City Clerk?
No, Madam Mayor, but I didn't get who made the motion, please.
Moved by the Vice Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by the Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
You got it. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to item C, ordinance number 2020-17, again, a second reading. City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance 2020-17, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the official zoning map by approving the creation of a mixed-use urban plan development district located at 1216, 1220, 1230, and 1310 Lake Avenue, and 1207, 1209, 1211, 1213, 1215, and 1401 Lucerne Avenue, consisting of approximately 1.1 acres, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, that is located within the mixed-use-east MU-E zoning district with a future land use designation of mixed-use-east MU-E that includes the specific development standards described in Exhibit B, approving a conditional use permit, approving density and height bonus incentives through the city's sustainable bonus incentive program, approving a major site plan for the construction of a mixed-use urban plan development consisting of 41 residential units, including 10 live-work units, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Second.
Second.
Any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Robinson?
I have a question. When this project was presented to, I guess, first to the CRA, is this what was presented? Were there any changes? I mean, can somebody tell me whether the flats have
Okay,
been,
William, are you on there?
Yeah, I'm on here. Mayor and Commissioners, William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. Conceptually, a very similar project was presented to the CRA. It was achieved through a RFP process. And then once the CRA agreed to work with them to develop a project, it came to us as a formal project and has gone through the entire site plan review process. It has evolved a bit from comments from both from staff, other departments, as well as the Planning and Zoning Board.
can you be more specific on the changes that evolved, the basic changes, not, I mean, yeah.
There had to be items from the initial submission, site plan amendment or changes were made to address comments from public services, from water sewer, from electric, dealing with easements, transformer locations, dumpster locations, fence location, how the driveways worked. There were issues with the color of the buildings. Signage was amended. There were more detail given on the second phase of the project in order to narrow down the scope of what would have to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Board and staff in the future. The park element was added between the time it was submitted and the time that it has come to the Planning and Zoning Board. Additional landscaping was provided. One of the buildings moved a little bit and got a little smaller.
Is there something specific, Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, well, specific to the pocket park, it's referring to a pocket park. It's not a public park. Is that correct?
No, it's for the residents. It's an amenity for the residents.
And the major thoroughfare guidelines don't, it was back in, I remember Broken Tooth being referenced to empty spots in a street. And this is a major thoroughfare, and this what's being referred to as a pocket park is, in my estimation, an empty tooth on Lake Avenue. I am in favor of the development, the project. I'm concerned about phase two getting the benefits going to phase one. I really am in favor of the development, but I am not willing to accept it in its present condition. We're accepting the first offer, and I think we can do better with this project than what's being presented for several reasons. And I'm just saying that because I'm disappointed that the project could be better. So I regrettably am going to vote. No changes were made from the first reading to now. I'm going to vote no tonight.
Okay. Were there any public comments? I forgot if I asked you. Madam Clerk.
No,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor. Sorry.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, there were no public comments.
Okay, anyone else? We've got a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Okay.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 3-1. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinance 2020-18. Once again, a second reading. City Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2020-18 of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the city's official zoning map from the zoning districts of single-family, two-family residential, SF-TF-14, and multifamily residential 20, MF-20, to mixed-use-east, MU-E, on properties generally located north of Lucerne Avenue, south of 2nd Avenue North, and between North A Street and North D Street, and is more particularly described in Exhibit A, and providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
I want to say the motion.
So moved.
Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. We have any public comment cards?
No, Madam Mayor.
Seeing there are none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to new business. This is a proposed ban on plastic straws in facilities owned, operated or managed by the city of Lake Worth Beach. Vice Mayor, you brought this up before, so I'm assuming, is this your item?
Madam Mayor, it's not my item. It's Commissioner Robinson's item because he felt he needed to push it forward, but just a little history. We've been working on this. Again, we've had several conversations from the dais. I didn't want to rush into anything. Our initial conversations were staff was going to talk to our local businesses, which they did. I'm happy to say all the local businesses have stepped up. They are not using styrofoam, which is something hard. That's one of my big pet peeves, but again, takes a lot more hurdles to get over. They are not using plastic straws with the exception of Mamma Mia's. They have new owners and they bought out, they were using what they had left. And they are very happy to step up and use an alternative to plastic. And again, we are reiterating with the Beach Club. Most of the new leases and/or leases have it written in that they use alternatives to styrofoam, plastic. The CRA and myself, we held a big meeting for the merchants. We invited Cheney Brothers in. Cheney Brothers came in and set up a big display of alternative uses. Trying to get away from plastic bags. We're encouraging the downtown merchants to move away from that. I'm happy to say that the t-shirt company on the beach has already moved away from that. They're not using plastics. We're trying to encourage people to reuse, recycle, and there's a process. And we wanted to make sure we crossed our T's and dotted our I's to make sure that we could move the city forward as quickly as possible. We have great staff working with Solid Waste Authority and doing outreach there. Ed Liberty and the utility department has gotten recyclable bags coming in that we're going to distribute to all the local merchants to encourage repeat shoppers to carry the Lake Worth bag and make sure that that's happening. I know in my own business, I have people bring me recycled bags on a regular basis, so we can use that. Also paper products for wrapping things. So, all that's happening. So motion to approve.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Robinson?
I'd like to thank Andy for Commissioner Amoroso for all the efforts to move this along and get to this point. Really, it was his initiative, his work, and I appreciate it and thank him.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just question, this is basically, this item under new business is just in reference to the city of Lake Worth Beach and Lake Worth Beach owned facilities.
Correct.
So those other items that you discussed will be coming at a later time?
Correct. And we're trying the education process first to have local merchants weigh in and, local residents weigh in on, best practices,
costs
and things and the cost. We, as a small business owner, I know that it costs a little bit more to use something that's recyclable and green than a styrofoam. Styrofoam kills me. But there's still quite a few people using it because it's the most economical, especially now in this time of hardship with the coronavirus and businesses trying to make decisions to just keep their doors open. We didn't want to, push to the point where, it actually jeopardizes somebody's business. So people are stepping up. They're looking at the alternative. And again, I thank Cheney Brothers for stepping in and you can get alternatives through Cisco and Cheney Brothers and a lot of the online places that merchants are buying. So the merchants are stepping up on their own to make those changes.
And that's city-sponsored events as well.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
All city related.
Yeah, we already have that.
Thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. You've always led a lot of green initiatives for us in the past. I'm very grateful. City Manager?
Madam Mayor, Commission, just to clarify, the intent of the motion is to bring back the actual, there was an example of an ordinance. It wasn't.
Oh, it was a proposed.
It was,
okay.
it was added, but if I understood your.
To move forward, to bring that.
To bring one back in official format.
And if there's anything else that we have, that we can finalize by that point, we'll add it to it.
And it's specific to not just the city-owned properties and tenants. Is this a citywide?
No, at this point, it's just
the city-owned. Okay, I just want to make that very
clear.
clear.
City events.
Thank you.
And city-owned property.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Because we're still working through some of the other issues with merchants and things. We don't want to force them into something that may jeopardize their businesses.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. And I'm going to go through though and call the vote on it because it is not listed as a discussion, but a proposed ban, just to show our unity on it. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. I didn't ask for public comment.
There was no public comment on this item.
Just wanted to note that for the record. Thank you very much, City Clerk.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to item B, which is discussion item brought forward by Commissioner Robinson regarding additional required public meetings for development projects. You have the floor, sir.
Well, I just, the reason under the consent, the public deserves transparency, and I'm concerned that when they don't have information, they make up their own, and in that case, and in the case of a developer, we suggest a developer meet with the neighborhood, but there's no requirement. I'm asking for the requirement for the developer to have a time and place for the community to get information from the developer.
Okay. City Manager, what is now when it's a CRA project and when it's, I want to sort of differentiate between CRA projects and city initiated projects. Is the process different?
Well, yes, Madam Mayor, the Community Redevelopment Agency, as its middle name implies, is really set up and geared towards the intent of fostering investment and redevelopment in depressed areas by using a tax increment financing and tools that are given to it by state law when it's created. They are not a regulatory agency. That is you.
Right.
This body as the city commission, and then your appointees who are on the board, such as the Planning, Zoning, or the Historic Preservation Board, are the ones that, along with what you've approved in your land development regulations, your zoning maps, all those rules and things that says where and what can be built and how and what the process is a law that y'all have created per state law, which has very specific advertising and public hearing and meeting dates. So the CRA functions more as a free agent that can take and assemble properties and put things out for requests for proposals, such as the Village Flats that you just saw. They get people who are interested in investing in the city and this assemblage of property, and it becomes a transaction that can become possible once you go through the city's regulatory zoning process. And as William Waters explained, from the sort of idea that this potential kind of development proposal may be something that sounds good for the CRA to maybe sell a property to a developer, it doesn't necessarily match or meet all the things that are required once it goes through the city regulatory process. So they're two very different and separate things.
I'm aware of that. I just wanted you to explain it just for public record, because a lot of people don't realize that it's sort of like when you think of somebody, who's the 30,000 feet person, right? Who says, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're trying to get. And we're going to put out an RFP and people are going to bid on things and whatever, and they're going to propose something. At that point, that's step one. And that's what we're looking at, with certain properties and projects right now. It still has to go to, if it's historic, if it's, planning and zoning, whichever steps they need to go through. And then they get to the fine tooth comb, and then they go through and they make, the community gets involved and they express what they like, what they don't like. If they like to go in another direction, you bring public comment. There's numerous meetings that happen, in regards to that. And then once they fine tuned it to something, hopefully with public input, because everyone has the ability to be at all of those additional meetings that happen after they just say, okay, to the 50,000 foot thing, then we get into the details and then it comes before us. And then the public gets another chance again to talk about it. And we can ask for changes or differences or developments or approve or not approve.
Within certain parameters.
Right. Right.
bargain
Yes.
approvals, but
But it usually, but there's a lot of processes to it. And I just didn't want people to think that the CRA does something and boom, and then it's done, that there's still processes in place intentionally for community input and for us to be able to, fine tune projects so that they fit our neighborhoods properly. Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. And thank you, City Manager, for articulating some of the processes. Could you, City Manager, or William Waters, give us some kind of an idea that a CRA project, how many meetings, public meetings would have to take place theoretically, roughly, would have to, before a project is approved?
William.
William Waters for the record. I'll just use the one we just had, the Village Flats. There was a public meeting where the submissions for the RFP were vetted. A selection committee met, presentations were given. They were shortlisted. And then the developer was recommended by the CRA staff to the CRA board to enter into negotiations for a project. That meeting was the commission meeting, the board meeting was considered a public meeting. I think the public's invited. Once there was a project envisioned conceptually, they met with staff. The first public meeting would have been the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, but prior to that were meetings among all the department directors, the site plan review team, to go over the project and entertain how it met the code, where it deviated from what types of things were going to have to be considered or altered. The first public hearing where the public was notified was the Planning and Zoning Board. The public was invited to comment on the project. Then it came to the City Commission for first reading, and then on to the City Commission again for the second reading. So the Flats project had a minimum of 5 public meetings where the public could voice a concern or an issue. If the City Commission or the Planning and Zoning Board had wanted to continue a meeting, they could have and invited more public comment. The projects like the Flats, all from the CRA, will have that minimum of 5 public meetings. Some may have more because there is more work needed before the project can move forward from the RFP standpoint to negotiations with the CRA board and staff, and then on to a conceptual design to receive its entitlements from either the planning board or preservation board, and then ultimately you if it's a planned development.
Thank you. So would it be fair to say, if I were asked tomorrow morning how many public meetings minimum we'd have to subject a project to, would 5 be a fair number? Would that be an accurate number?
If it goes to the CRA, 5 is probably the minimum number.
The minimum number. Okay. The reason I ask is because, government is a funny animal, and we have all these processes and rules and protocols we have to follow, as far as public meetings and things are concerned. But sometimes at the end of the day, if there's not a great deal of public participation in these meetings, these projects, they move through the process. And then once they're very close to finalization, maybe somebody who is extra interested in the project raises, the issue or whatever. And the cry sometimes is, we didn't know. So I don't know that this is a solution, adding, requiring an additional public meeting on top of public meetings. I mean, it sounds to me like you're having another meeting just to, for what purpose? And what really concerns me is when you preface something by saying that we need more transparency. The inference there is that there is no transparency. And that's bothersome to me, because if that's the case, then all of us, staff, and all of us as elected officials, I guess, in theory, if what you say is true, would be in violation at some point of some part of the state law. You're suggesting that we're not following the law, and that is bothersome to me. And I think it's really not helpful to get us where we want to be in terms of communication, two-way communication with the public, to suggest that there's not transparency, because there clearly is a lot of transparency. Whether folks choose to participate in the process, that's a personal choice. And I know that there's enough folks in the community who are very active and keeping on top of things, issues and projects or whatever. I think we probably have some of the best, what's the word, lines of communication, if you will, for projects that are initiated and carried out throughout the city. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And William, I want to thank you for clarifying, how many meetings are offered up to the public. I think that's very important that they know that, and that transparency is not the issue. Public participation perhaps could be called into question sometimes. And yes, I wish we had more public participation. I wish folks would take more time to be involved, but we can't force folks to do that. And having another meeting, I don't think is going to, make that number any greater. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
William Waters, I just wanted to mention for the record that William Waters and his staff are award-winning staff members. And also we have an award-winning CRA. I don't quite understand the attack on a CRA and a staff that has spent the last 10 years plus doing huge development projects and bringing taxable base to the city of Lake Worth Beach. So for the record, as far as transparency, again, award-winning, great things have been done in the last 10 years. And, you have to step back and look and say, we are a much better Lake Worth Beach now, 10 years later. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, I'm amazed at how divisive we start off a conversation with, being offended by transparency. This is not an attack on the CRA. I support the CRA. The CRA is doing its job. This is an attempt to have government serve we're here to serve the people. And when we make it easier for the public to understand what's going on, they're not going to go to a meeting that has 5 different items on the agenda when only one of them is of their interest. What I'm asking for is just a little more information from the specific developer about their specific project. This I think would make the whole process easier. Rather than we're not attacking, or I'm not attacking the CRA. I'm thinking that it would improve the process and have the community celebrate a development. This is, do not misunderstand me that I am not attacking the CRA. I'm asking for them to require the developer. This has nothing really to do with the CRA. It's requiring a meeting, an informational meeting of the developer, not the CRA, to go to the community, to the neighborhood, to the people that are going to be affected. And sometimes developments affect the whole community. So, transparency is a perception. If the perception is that we're not being transparent, it's real. I mean, when people perceive that something exists, in their mind it exists. So what I'm trying to do is eliminate the perception that I'm aware of the challenge of being transparent. I mean, information, factual information is critical, and it should come from the horse's mouth, not from a third person that heard it on the street. So I don't think a good developer would be object to being required to go to the public. I would think that we would support the requirement of that.
I understand where you're going with it.
Well, the agendas, meetings, I'm not big on going to meetings. Like I said, all these 5 meetings have other items on the agenda. And it lessens the focus, that's all.
I understand where you're coming from too, and it's just very difficult. I forget what the issue was years back. And we were like, well, transparency, and you need transparent. We had like 48 meetings. I forget what the road bond. That was it. We had 48 meetings, and people were saying, well, you didn't have any meetings. And I didn't know of any meetings, and I didn't. It's very difficult, huh?
54.
54 meetings. Okay.
4854.
48, 54. I know, I was close. So it's difficult in our position when we think we're accommodating, we're doing that, and they're just finding out about it from a neighbor down the street at the last minute, and they're just hearing of it for the first time, and then they feel I haven't been notified, and there's already been 28 meetings at that point, or whatever it may be, and it's difficult. I understand what you're trying to say too. The process itself is lengthy, and I'm saying the process to get a project through, I mean, is going through the different meetings and the different boards and the different things and all the areas of public participation. And I would think that if you're interested in something and it's serious to you, you'll sit through whatever or come a little bit later in the meeting to address that one issue. But I understand what you're all saying. I get it. Most importantly, you don't want anyone in the community to feel that they're being, they're not given the opportunity to voice their opinions on a project. But all the details of that project come through the processes that happen after the initial RFP. So it's, it's a process that unfolds, as it happens. There's no vote needed for this, I don't believe.
But Madam Mayor, there is a lot of public comment on this item.
Okay, let's bring it on.
Okay, I'm gonna give it 2 minutes. So if I stop in the middle of what they've written, I'm sorry.
Okay.
First item is from Cliff Kohlmeyer. City needs an ordinance like the one proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there is adequate public input in the planning stages of any major development. This is the spirit of the CRA's online policy statement, which promises to act with input from citizens, local leaders, and the business community. However, public comment is currently limited to 2 or 3 minute one-way monologue with no requirement for response, whether from the CRA, HRPB, or City Commission. Moreover, RFPs are issued without public input. Independent marketing studies, or even the inclusion of specifications from the city community sustainability guidelines. One such developer recently made a promise at a CRA hearing to meet with residents, only to cancel a meeting we had scheduled. With a lack of statutory requirement, the citizens have no recourse. We cannot compel a meeting, even at this late stage of the project. The long-term success of any major development depends on public support. After all, there may be a good reason to sell properties for $2.8 million that cost taxpayers $4.5 million to acquire, and a good reason to replace 11 historic homes with a bland 4-story apartment block in our historic downtown. But those reasons haven't been forthcoming. There's a growing sense among the electorate that decisions are being made without adequate communication. An ordinance of the kind proposed by Commissioner Robinson, with the inclusion of a workshop prior to the issuance of an RFP, would go some way towards easing these concerns. The next item is from Ramsey McLeod. Hello, I have been advised that Commissioner Robinson has submitted a proposal for a new ordinance seeking to have citizen input to the CRA prior to them awarding any new development in the city. I personally feel that every new construction done by the CRA looks very sterile. Everything is white and boxy looking. Developments that have been constructed under them do not display any facade that resembles or complements the historic look and feel of our city. They continually hold meetings, approve developments with little or no input from residents. We need an ordinance like the one being proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there is meaningful public input in the planning stages of any major development, not just in the final stages when input is limited to 2 or 3 minute comment to the Commissioner HRPB. The public needs to be involved in the planning stages. Although the CRA states that it's their policy for the public to be involved, they continue to act in a manner that does not allow for adequate input from citizens, local leaders, and local businesses. The long-term success of any major development project depends on public support. Right now, the public has very little say in these projects, and that is allowing the CRA to completely change the historic and eclectic feel of our city. There needs to be an established method by which the citizens are allowed ample input prior to decisions being made. Answers need to be transparent and actions need to be accountable for. For example, Why did the city spend $4.5 million to purchase properties between South L Street and South M Street, but the CRA turned around and sold it for $2.8 million? How is this a good return on our investment? How is that spending taxpayer dollars in the best manner? No one has been able to get answers from the CRA on this issue, and the matter of operation this manner of operation has to stop. I'm asking for the CRA and or the city of Lake Worth Beach to engage the services of professional, neutral urban planner. This item is from David Sims. Please support Commissioner Robinson's proposal to require a public meeting on all future developments in the city of Lake Worth Beach. Residents should have a say about proposed development projects. Our input should be more than just delivering a comment that can be ignored before the final decision on the project. The public meeting should be required before an RFP is issued. The next item is from Katie Neurolis. We need an ordinance like the one being proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there is a meaningful public input in the planning stages of any major development, not just in the final stages, when the input is limited to 2 or 3 minute comment from the commission or HRPB. It is in the planning stages that the public needs to be involved. This is the spirit of the CRA's online policy statement, which promises to act with input from citizens, local leaders, and the business community. Public comments may currently be allowed, but answers are optional. Too often, the RFP is issued without any public workshop, a marketing study, or even inclusion into specifications from the city's community sustainability guidelines. One such developer recently made a promise to meet with residents at a CRA hearing and then canceled the meeting that we scheduled. We have no recourse. The long-term success of major development projects depend on public support. For example, there may be a good reason to sell properties for $2.8 million that cost taxpayers $4.5 million to acquire, but citizens should be able to get answers from unelected officials as to how this is a good return on taxpayer dollars. There's a growing sense among the electorate that decisions are being made without adequate communication. An ordinance of this kind, proposed by Commissioner Robinson, with the inclusion of a workshop prior to the issuance of an RFP, would go a long way towards easing these concerns. The next is from Catherine Kohlmeyer. We need an ordinance like the one being proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there is meaningful public input in the planning stages of any major development, not just in the final stages, when input is limited to a 2 or 3 minute comment to the commission or the HRPB. It is in the planning stages that the public needs to be involved. This is the spirit of the CRA's online policy statement, which promises to act with input from citizens, local leaders, and the business community. Public comments may currently be allowed, but are routinely disregarded. The need for more citizen input is exemplified by the proposed development in the heart of downtown between L and M streets. The city has issued guidelines such as historic preservation, design guidelines, and historic preservation educational guidelines on the city website. These guidelines have been ignored. There's no evidence these guidelines were referred to in creating the proposal for the 120-150 unit apartment building that the CRA has voted for and that the CRA staff is now working on. The city and the CRA only pay lip service to the idea of preserving the unique character of downtown Lake Worth Beach. Their actions do the opposite. The next item is from Krista House, Hauss. Robinson proposal and CRA development on SL and M streets. The CRA and commissioners have not enabled the public to respond to the stealthy efforts to develop the acquired properties on South L and M streets and South First Avenue. The avowed mission of the CRA and Historic Preservation Board to preserve the historic district and its cottages have been openly defied, placing the entire district's designation in peril. The public was not informed prior to the expensive purchase of these privately owned rental properties. The mandate of the Historic Preservation Board requiring specific site plans prior to demolition or change of use was ignored. The subsequent eviction of all tenants and effective neglect of the properties continues. The CRA and commissioners disregard of the local residents. There's been no public discussion of the wisdom of building more than 100 of downtown rental units or the effects on the tax base. Continued backroom planning and dealing by the CRA with developers without any deference to local residents' concerns and interests or consideration of the substantial tax money spent on their behalf, absent informed consent, is unwise and tainted by mistrust. The commissioners should change their current efforts to hide their and the CRA's disregard for the rules obeyed by all others. The public must be given an open, fair, and thorough process to partake in the planning before any further steps towards development occurs. Mr. Robinson's proposal deserves support, but should require that answers must be included. Questions should be heard and answers must be given. The next one is from Lori Long. We need an ordinance like the one being proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there's meaningful public input in the planning stages of any major development, not just the final stages where input is limited to a 2 or 3 minute comment to the Commissioner HRPB. It is the planning stages that the public needs to be involved. This is the spirit of the CRA's online policy statement, which promises to act with input from citizens, local leaders, and the business community. Public comments may currently be allowed, but answers are optional. Too often the RFP is issued without any public workshop, a marketing study, or even inclusion of specifications from the city's community sustainability guidelines. One such developer recently made a promise to meet with residents at a CRA hearing and then canceled the meeting that we scheduled. We have no further recourse. Of course, the long-term success of major development projects depend on public support. For example, there may be good reason to sell properties for $2.8 million that cost taxpayers $4.5 million to acquire. But citizens should be able to get answers from unelected officials as to how this is a good return on taxpayer dollars. There's a growing sense among the electorate that decisions are being made without adequate communication. An ordinance of the kind proposed by Commissioner Robinson with the inclusion of a workshop prior to the issuance of an RFP would go a long way towards easing these concerns. To be clear, we are asking for the CRA and/or City of Lake Worth Beach to engage the services of a professional, neutral, AICP certified urban planner with experience in public meetings and charrettes to conduct a public meeting charrette that would allow Lake Worth Beach residents to share ideas and goals for the downtown, in particular for the properties that have been aggregated between L&M streets. We further ask that provisions be made for capturing the ideas and goals gathered at this workshop, and that these and other information received be compiled. The next is from the law office of Betty C. Resch. I am dear Mayor and Commissioners, I am writing in support of Commissioner Robinson's proposal to institute public meetings for development projects. As a longtime resident of Lake Worth and as a neighbor to the CRA proposed L&M project, my name for the project under consideration for the property on L&M Street, I am compelled to voice my opinion of the current state of public notice and participation. At this point in time, the only requirement is for the city to notify the property owners within 400 feet of a proposed project. This represents the bare minimum of effort on the city's part to notify or have public input into the item. The bare minimum should not be the standard of the city to involve residents to participate and have meaningful input into large projects that directly impact the citizens and future of the city. The city should be reaching out to citizens for substantive input into these projects. My recommendation would be to pass an ordinance which requires that the citizens be notified in a meaningful way even before an RFP is issued. This would give citizens an opportunity to have input into the future plans of the city. For example, how a development will affect the neighborhood. The city should be seeking suggestions from the citizens as to their ideas and concerns. After all, these developments are funded in part with ad valorem taxes, money from the citizens. The current situation has the effect of leaving us with no voice in the future of our city. This is a small enough city with many involved citizens. The commission should make every effort to include, not exclude or ignore public comment. Being the last to know is not an acceptable position currently imposed on citizens, but that is where we are at this point. We've been ignored by the commission and the CRA, but we still persist. The next item is from Tom Conboy. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, I support the proposal to require more public involvement in the CRA development process, but it does not go far enough. Public workshops need to be conducted by the CRA prior to RFPs going out. This has not been happening. At the last City Commission meeting, Commissioner Robinson asked what concessions had been given to the developer for the CRA project between Lake and Lucerne Avenues. The developer could not answer this question, yet this was the first reading by the City Commission, which unanimously approved the project. City staff, when asked about public input, noted that the required letters had been sent out to property owners within 400 feet of the project. Only 2 members of the public made comments on the project. Both spoke out against the location of the dumpsters. The developer stated that no effort had been done to reach out to the public or the neighborhood and its leaders. When we are using public dollars to subsidize these CRA development projects, more public outreach needs to be required. Meeting the minimum required outreach is not adequate. To be clear, I am asking for the CRA and the City of Lake Worth Beach to engage the services of a professional, neutral, AICP certified urban planner with experience in public meetings and charrettes to conduct a public meeting charrette that would allow Lake Worth Beach residents to share ideas and goals for the downtown, in particular for the properties that have been aggregated between L and M Street. I further ask that the provision be made for capturing the ideas and goals gathered at the workshop, and that these and other information received there be compiled by the engaged planner into a public report to be submitted to the CRA and the city. The next item is from Christopher McVoy. Dear Commissioners, would you be so kind? Oh, honorable Commissioners, the city grows best with strong civic involvement. Developers, residents, and businesses do best when there is widespread support of proposed projects. These goals require a strong program of public involvement. For this reason, I fully support any commissioner's efforts to make sure that residents and businesses of Lake Worth Beach have meaningful opportunities to participate in the planning stages of new projects. Specifically, this means robust public involvement during the development of requests for proposals. Involvement at the RFP stage would help build confidence in city government, ensure the CRA and city receive and act meaningfully upon public input, ensure compliance with stated commitments to historic preservation, and build confidence that any taxpayer money given to developers, whether outright or as tax breaks, are in fact wise investments of our taxes. Regrettably, a feeling has been increasing in the community that major development decisions are being made without adequate public involvement. As a civic-minded member of the community, I request that for major projects, the CRA and/or the City of Lake Worth Beach engage professional AICP certified urban planners who are experienced and neutral to conduct public workshops or charrettes that would allow Lake Worth Beach residents to share ideas, concerns, and goals for the downtown. I further request the public input gathered at such workshops be captured and synthesized into reports made available in timely fashion to the public. Naturally, this request would apply also to the properties that have been aggregated between L and M streets. The next item is from David Savage. I believe far more public involvement in the planning stages of any project will generate more city appropriate development projects. The CRA in particular has moved a number of projects forward with very little transparency, oversight, or public support. This would be remedied with the requirements of the informational meeting workshops Commissioner Robinson proposes. The next item is from Barbara Reeves. We need an ordinance like the one being proposed by Commissioner Robinson to ensure there's meaningful public input in the meeting stages of any major development, not just in the final stages when input is limited to 2 or 3 minute comment to the public or HRPB. It is in the planning stages that the public needs to be involved. This is in the spirit of the CRA's online policy statement, which promises to act with input from citizens, local leaders, and the business community. Public comments may currently be allowed, but answers are optional. Too often the RFP is issued without any public workshops, a marketing study, or even the inclusion of specifications from the city's community sustainability guidelines. One such developer recently made a promise to meet with residents at a CRA meeting and then canceled the meeting that we scheduled. They have no recourse. Long-term success of major development project depends on public support. For example, there may be a good reason to sell properties for $2.8 million that cost taxpayers $4.5 million to acquire, but citizens should be able to get answers from unelected officials as to how this is good return on taxpayer dollars. There's a growing sense among the electorate that decisions are being made without adequate communication. An ordinance of this kind proposed by Commissioner Robinson with the inclusion of a workshop prior to the issuance of an RFP would go a long way towards easing these concerns. To be clear, we are asking the CRA and or City of Lake Worth Beach to engage the services of a professional, neutral, AICP certified urban planner with experience in public meetings and charrettes to conduct a meeting charrette that would allow Lake Worth Beach residents to share ideas and goals for the downtown. In particular, for the properties that have been aggregated between L and M streets, we further ask that that in particular for the properties that have been capturing ideas and goals gathered at this workshop, and that these and other information received must be compiled by an engaged planner. The next item is from Ginny Powell. The purpose of my letter is to voice support for Commissioner Robinson's proposal to institute public meetings. My understanding is that currently the city is only required to notify the property owners within 400 feet of a CRA proposed project. While this may be adequate when a single family home is being constructed or modified, such as what the HRPB requires, but it is not enough for large projects that impact all city residents and the future direction of our city. All citizens need the opportunity to have input on these projects, not just those in the immediate neighborhood. In addition, notice to all citizens should be provided well before the RFP is issued. This would allow citizens to truly participate in the city's future by having their voice heard on developments well before projects are finalized. Projects which are funded at least in part with their tax dollars. Citizens would be able to voice concerns as well as present ideas that may ultimately result in a better project accepted and or approved by a larger proportion of the electorate who will feel that CRA and the city have heard them and responded to them. Basically, good public relations. One way the city could handle this is to have a neutral third-party professional lead public meetings that are adequately noticed to the city residents, similar to the meetings a while back where citizens gave their input on potential additional beach development prior to any proposals being finalized or accepted. The results of those meetings could then be captured in a report prepared for the CRA consideration as the project moves forward. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Ginny Powell. The next item is—
How many more do we have, Madam Clerk?
Madam Mayor, there are two more. There are three more items, I believe.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I just hear a lot of them using the same language. So
they absolutely are.
Okay.
And these last three seem to be a little different. The last two are quite a bit shorter.
Oh no, I don't care about the length. I just mean, it just seems like it's the same words. I just wanted to. I know in the past you've summed them up when people had the same verbiage in them, so I just didn't know.
You know, unfortunately, I didn't have time today to read them all, or I would have tried to put them all together. I apologize for that, but.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and get these last three out, if I could.
Of course.
This is from Donald Rosenshine. He says, over the last few months, I and other citizens have been trying to understand the inner workings of the CRA, that is, how they prioritize their projects, expend their funds, and procedures they abide by. We have used the rental project, the element, as a template for this inquiry. It seems difficult to get necessary information from the CRA, at least concerning this project. It is not clear that the CRA board is actively involved in the oversight of this project. It is not clear that the CRA, given its enormous responsibilities and impactful decisions, visualizes itself as an agency beholden to the citizens of Lake Worth Beach. More specifically, the CRA spent approximately $4.6 million for this assemblage, which they're considering reselling for $2.8 million. If so, that amounts to a sizable subsidy to the developer. As a former developer, I would have to pay a county or municipal impact fee for every unit built in order to cover part of the cost to the existing residents for additional services such as police, fire, education, and other services created by the additional units. Here, this seems to be the reverse. The city and its citizens offer the subsidy, not the developer. Additionally, is this the best use of property in the heart of the city? Would it not be more appropriate to build entry-level condominiums, 150,000 to 225,000, or even commercial, which will enhance the tax base? At the Lucerne, there are and were individual condo owners paying property taxes, even though there was some type of tax abatement for the developer. At the Element, renters will not pay property tax, so it would not make sense for there to be a tax abatement for this developer. It does not seem that the proposed project is compatible with the historic qualities of downtown. This next to last one is from Gail Silverblatt. I support the proposal to have additional public meetings before an RFP is sent out by the CRA. The meeting should be advertised, held in a large room to accommodate the concerned public, and videotaped. This would allow an informative exchange between the residents, the CRA staff and board, and the city commission as what is proposed and how it would impact the area. This is especially important in areas where demolition of historic and contributing structures are located. I think the CRA's projects between South L, South M, Lake Avenue, and First Avenue South contribute to the distrust of developments proposed by the CRA and need to be corrected. Some of the CRA projects are being built on vacant land, such as the Bohemian, and are looked at with enthusiasm. There needs to be more thought given to the existing residents and how these projects will impact their daily lives. Our city is built on the backbone of our neighborhoods, and they must be protected. And this last comment is from Richard Stowe. I appreciate that Commissioner Robinson has added item B in new business on December 1st, 2020 agenda. I support public meetings in which residents and stakeholders, including city commissioners, can engage in a dialogue before the city redevelopment agency issues an RFP. That's all the comments I have on that item, Madam Mayor.
Very much. Can we start that from the beginning?
Yes, I'm going to start over again if you don't mind.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that participated. I'm just trying to think of where we can go from. First of all, City Attorney, are you there?
I am, Your Honor. What's up?
Okay, how are you? What's up? I don't know what is the process of our jurisdiction and the CRAs. I know it's like a separate, but you know, we do. How would you make a suggestion, or how would you handle something like that from a legal standpoint?
Well, Your Honor, I think the way Commissioner Robinson may have proposed the item was that this would apply to all developers coming to the city to have a project approved. I don't know if that's for sure. And in that case, I would recommend some type of ordinance be put in place in the development process that, you know, could, depending on some type of threshold, require a developer to hold public meetings specific to the development to provide more public information about his or her development. I think that was the intent. If it were just going to be applied to CRA projects, I would recommend the same thing, because really as an ordinance, it has the teeth necessary to make sure that the developer abides by it for CRA projects. Because without an ordinance, it doesn't have the teeth that, say, a policy or resolution might have.
Commissioner Robinson, is that what you intended?
Well, and I was suggesting that we use the 400-foot notice as a requirement, which would get it out there, and then, you know, it would be an open public meeting. And I also want to say that this is not a new idea. Other communities have the same requirements for development information required.
Yeah, and we do it all the time. I mean,
We suggest it.
no, we do it all the time on city. I mean, and
And
for
the
the projects that we oversee, I don't. I mean, nobody brought up any other example other than the L&M project or whatever, but they've insinuated that.
Back on CRA.
I'm saying they're insinuating that we don't do it. We do it. We've had numerous ones for city-owned projects.
Okay.
So, you know, that's why I thought it was just directed to the CRA. It's how it sounded to me. But if you're talking about overall, that's fine. You know, I don't care. But what are you looking for? I'm just confused. It's a lot of times people question things that aren't valid. I mean, if there's a problem with that project, then let's talk about that project, not insinuate that the whole city isn't doing something.
And I think to Christie's concern was that we're not going to require it from every developer that wants to come and do anything. There already is an ordinance, I understand, that requires notice of 400 feet when something's being done.
Yes.
And, but that is in a written notice that they're having a meeting. It's going to be on the agenda. I'm asking for a different type of meeting from the developer to the public for information from the developer. It's not a new, not a new idea, and it's not an attack on the CRA.
Oh.
This is a process.
I'm trying to understand you to help facilitate this.
Well, Commissioner Amoroso refers to, people are just asking for information. And when I said it, you know, when they don't get their own, they'll make it up themselves.
So you admit that some of this is incorrect information?
You know, I don't know what specifics they're thinking of, but yes, I'm sure that there's information that isn't correct.
Okay.
And that's, I'm
City manager?
trying to get correct information out.
Agreed.
And I think, and we've all experienced this when you talk to people at different times about their perception of a process, or especially with the CRA. In order to craft something, though, their process, as I understand it, is assembling properties.
Correct.
And the L&M, which has got brought up a lot of times, I know that I had directed William ahead of time because what can be built on those properties was something we wanted everybody to understand. We actually did a building massing to try to educate people that this is what the zoning allows in the downtown on vacant properties and infill properties that can move forward. So you don't really have a developer until you go through an RFP process, and the developer is judged on the RFP criteria as being the most competent person that can meet the code and finance, all those things. You know, they go through that process. At that point, then you've got a project proposal. There's no transactions taking place. And then they start to go through what would be working with the city staff. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what was the intent of Commissioner Robinson's request. Where would the developer, you have to have a developer first.
Right.
Because basically all the CRA does is this property is what's in the LDRs. You can build this in this zoning district. That's base your proposal on that.
Well, the first questions that I got from people in the community that were calling about L&M was that they saw those renderings that
they thought that was the building.
That was the actual building.
It's just a show.
And it was just him trying to explain what happened. So are they expecting the developer to put their idea and build and devise a plan before they even put the RFP in to show them what it's going to look like, even before they've developed? I mean, I don't know where in the process can we do that? Can we add that, Commissioner Robinson?
Andy, did you want to have a comment first?
Well, I had a question for the city manager and maybe the attorney. Can you talk a little bit, because we heard quite often, we bought it for 400, we bought it for 4 million, we're selling it for 2 million. Can you talk a little bit about how a CRA works and that, and what the public benefit would be as far as, bringing 100 doors to the downtown that would eat and shop, the utilities, the tax base, some of these things are waived, but that's what CRAs do in every other city to get development to come to your city. Most cities like Boynton, Lantana, that are having larger development right now have land to give away. We don't necessarily have that, so we're doing it a little differently, but that's the public benefit that's bringing the value back to their city.
The CRA basically, if they have any money to spend on buying properties, it's based on the tax increment financing and the projected taxes and things that would come in above the base level that the CRA operates on, and they would borrow against that to do just what you basically said. Is in this city, there's a clear recognition that we started with a 30% poverty rate, and that there was a lot of infill properties along the major transportation corridors, 10th Avenue, 6th Avenue, Dixie Highway, Federal, Lake and Lucerne in your downtown. That's where your density exists, because it was very clear when you did your strategic plan and your comprehensive plan, which we've been through many hearings about what the intent and development direction is for the city in these large governing documents. It's about infilling in those areas and staying out of the single family residential neighborhoods that are we are a community of neighborhoods. So all those neighborhood groups around are really based around that fabric of being single family. So the only place you can build density and bring people into the city is along those corridors, like in the downtown. So the CRA in their district happens to cover most of those areas as well. They're very busy about infilling and refilling and building units that we can build the middle class to balance our poverty. And I'm going way high level here, but that's not something that's just thought up in a back room, or it's not something that's just a whim. This has been over years of dealing with the comp plan, changing the land development regulations, developing a strategic plan. I've said this publicly so many times. We did the thing with the L&M project. We wanted to put the massing out there to show people what the code gives you. A developer could potentially come in and build something similar to that.
It wouldn't pass muster through historic or through planning and zoning or through the commission.
And I think there's some argument in that particular project. We shouldn't probably be arguing about the project, more about the historic structures in the district and the process for that more than anything else, I think, with this project. But that's something that's already on its way, and everybody did everything legally. There's disagreements about that. I was just curious, at what point do you hook a developer through the RFP process to come in and develop on CRA property? Do they do this required presentation? At what point is that? And what if they don't do it?
Well, that's exactly what I was just trying to get to with Commissioner.
Well, we're almost here.
And the L&M project, we don't have a project on that yet.
Correct.
There's no project been submitted to the city.
I know, that's the part I was trying to say in the very beginning of this.
So we don't have, even then, those people who are.
A few of the people that have spoken threatened a lawsuit on the project. So, that questions whether we really should even be talking about it. But it almost sounded like they wanted the meeting with the public to happen before the RFP even happened.
Yes.
And that's just not the process.
That's in the code. It's
that's
there.
The code.
It's
no other city brings in the community before the RFP goes out.
Right.
It says we want you to build this, and it looks like that, and it's this color, and it's that wide, and it's got that umbrella.
And you're not going to be able to make everybody happy.
Well, it's basically when you do an RFP is you set certain basic and you say, give us your best private sector proposal.
Right.
And then it comes through the process, and then it's tweaked at planning and zoning, it's tweaked at historic if it has to go to historic, and then it comes to us and we tweak it again. Commissioner
Robinson?
Well, I would think a good developer would want to hear from the community, and it would make their job a lot easier, a lot smoother if they had support from the community. And yes, an RFP is a request to give us your best, highest and best.
Sure.
And my concern is that we're acting I'm not talking L&M, but in desperation to get development. We're at the tail end of development because of a lot of reasons. But finally, Lake Worth is here because we're in a paradise of location, and there are other places to build. I'm glad they're coming. CRA has done what they're supposed to do in terms of bringing in developers. The developer would be smart to get the response of the community and work with the community.
They didn't show up. Is that what, I'm just kidding. They didn't show up for that. Was it a Zoom call? I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. How are we going to have all these meetings? And
I'm not sure of the details, Madam Mayor. I think that they had scheduled it, but like I said, they haven't submitted a project, I believe, and William can correct me if I'm wrong. There hasn't been anything submitted to the city for the regulatory process review.
Okay.
So I don't know that they're a legitimate player at this point or not, because there's certain transactions that have to take place.
And from what I understand, the developer said, yeah, we'll have it. And then they wanted it yesterday. But again, you don't have a development yet. Once the development comes forward and you have something to talk about, I don't think the developer has a problem doing it. But now we have, lawsuits threatened and things. And correct me if I'm wrong, city attorney, but you kind of shut down that conversation when you have people threaten you with lawsuits because it comes to your office. It's not a public, conversation anymore.
We're being sued by the Gulfstream Condominium Association too. And, it's a method of getting attention.
And we can't talk to them during that period.
Correct.
Okay, let's not talk about lawsuits. Let's stay where we're at here.
I'm saying that there's a reason for lawsuits, and it really isn't to,
I don't want to talk about lawsuits.
it's when all else fails, you have to sue to get attention. And that's what it is. This money, going back to the people talking about money, have to understand that a lot of these larger projects are incentivized. And this is a method of incentivizing,
Well, that's what the CRA is designed to do.
Right.
And our building permits for the city right now are up more than 30% in the middle of a global pandemic. So when when you're saying that, construction is going to end, right now we are the best bargain in all of South Florida, and people are investing left and right in this community. And we've got a lot of really positive things happening because of that. I also know that the downtown, we know that feet on the street for downtown businesses and mom and pops to operate and live and survive.
And we have new businesses opening in the middle of a pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic as well. So I understand it seems to be limited to, and this is just my perception, it seems to be limited most of the discussion towards L&M. I just wanted to remove the overarching arm spreading of we don't do this or whatever. We have charrettes, we have meetings, we have workshops through all city projects that we oversee from start to finish. So I don't want that to be a statement that people think is accurate, because it's not. And we're very transparent, and we allow for total interaction. Somebody mentioned that comments aren't allowed after people speak, and that's incorrect. Non-agended items, we don't engage in direct conversation with, but on agenda items, we do allow for comments from commissioners and back and forth. And sometimes we even call people up to share more of their insight, because they might have an item that we didn't think of, and we've asked them to come back up and share with us. So, I think we do a good job at that. If there's something that you want to add to the process, figure out where it gets added, because no one's going to want to come and approach the community if they don't have a project already. Don't they need to have a project in the works, and then they show it to the community, and the community says, hey, I like that, don't like this. Could you do more of that, less of this? Could you do, shouldn't they have a project in their hands to show?
That's what we're asking for is communication. I don't think it's a detriment to the developer at all. No, and I don't think why we should be afraid of requiring information.
I'm not afraid of anything. Of any of that. I'm not afraid of anything.
Then let's move forward with a requirement rather than a suggestion.
But just, you have to be specific about where you want it, where in the process it happens. If it's across, I mean, it just reiterates what we're already doing, you know, as a city, but put it in there as well. But when they have a process, they come before the community or whatever, or and they speak about wherever you want to add that in, that's fine, but be specific about it, because you can't expect the developer to come to a meeting to talk about a project that he hasn't even created yet.
Yeah, I could expect that because they want to have input from the community. Yes, this is actually a benefit, even though they want to avoid it if they can and move through the staff level and you know, not go to the public. But in fact, it would benefit their project if they communicated more to the public.
You were a developer, right?
No, I was a builder.
A builder, okay. In your projects that you had, did you do that in your projects? Go meet with the places where you were building?
No.
Okay. Why not?
I didn't have to.
Oh.
And you know, and it was I wasn't doing projects like this, so you know, I was involved with the community. In fact, on the other end, I was responding to the community's wishes and desires.
Okay.
It's a different process, but it was always to my benefit and to any developer's benefit to reach out to the community. I don't think we should be afraid of requiring it.
Again, there's no,
Other cities do.
I'm not, like I said, there's no need to use the word afraid, because I don't think anyone's afraid of anything. We're trying to get clarification as to what exactly it is that you're looking for. Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, there's a balance here when we have conversations like this. You know, on one hand, we're out there individually, collectively, staff, everybody, you know, trying to showcase Lake Worth Beach to encourage folks to come in and develop. Okay. In the past, the word developer, development has really been a very bad word for some folks. Okay. I think we may be turning the corner a little bit. I don't know if we completely turned the corner. We've had this conversation so many times. None of us, I'm going to speak for, I've been working with you all long enough. I think I can say this fairly. None of us are looking for grotesque or obscene development, but we recognize that we have to have some development in our community on an ongoing basis in order to build our tax base, okay, in order to be able to provide the services that our residents require, need, expect, deserve. And, you know, we spoke earlier of the processes, the state processes, our local processes, all the meetings that take place. And yes, I think that many developers or many builders would freely go in and ask for some input from the community. But we have to remember, at the end of the day, and I've said this before about different projects, it's the developer's project. It's their land and it's their money. And the community, I don't think, how do I say this? I think it's okay for the community to have some input, but I don't think that the community should be upset if their input isn't totally embraced by the person who's writing the checks for the development project. And I think that when you start having these kind of conversations like we've had here for well over an hour.
Yeah, we're past city.
You know, I think it could cause a chilling effect for folks wanting to come and invest in our community. You know, we need to stand strong, shoulder to shoulder, and say, yes, we have processes in place. We have means of communication. We have an active and vibrant community of folks who are paying attention. They're on the ball when it comes to, you know, the things that are going on here in town. And I, like the mayor said, and like I said earlier, I'm uncomfortable when I get that, you know, how you throw that phrase out there. Well, we need more transparency. Well, the inference is that there's no transparency.
Right.
And that's not true.
Perception.
And perception is people's reality. But you know what? Perception is also sometimes built on false information. Okay. And I can also tell you, you know, we've sat here and tonight we've talked about the attacks or non-attacks on the CRA, but I'm aware of a number of social media attacks directed specifically to the CRA in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, we as a body here, I think, would be wise to work together when it comes to trying to grow our tax base and provide valuable services to our residents, and not, you know, get into these squabbles and causing confusion and sending out mixed messages to the investment community as to what our true intention is here. Again, Commissioner Robinson, if you find a place in this process where you think that it is appropriate for some sort of additional community input
Across the board.
then let's do it. But I will tell you this, you know, it may be a turnoff for some folks wanting to invest in the community. They think, you know what, if I'm going to come in and listen to a bunch of people who don't want anything, and, you know, there are people in the community that don't want you to change anything, why would I waste my time and my energy coming in here? Time is money. And these folks, you know, they've got to make decisions. Okay. Again, I don't want anybody listening or whatever to get the impression that I'm rolling over for developers, because I absolutely am not. I want good projects. I want projects that benefit the community. I want fair projects. Okay. And I want them done to all the rules and the regulations and the stipulations that we have worked so hard for over the last 10 or 11 years to put in place. Rules and regulations and stipulations that really weren't in place before. And as a result,
And help to end half the lawsuits that the city
exactly.
at the time.
And it's evident that they weren't in place before, because when you travel throughout the city, you see a hodgepodge of different projects and looks. Okay, it's time for us to turn the corner and keep moving forward. And we've got momentum going in our favor. And I think we need to keep that in mind and at the top of our mind. And to all the folks who put your comments in tonight, thank you very much for weighing in on that. We hear you. We respect your viewpoint. But if Commissioner Robinson can find a place, like I said, overall that we can put this in here, I guess we'll go for it. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as Commissioner Robinson seems to think it is. And he suggested that other communities have done it. I would suggest that we look at their processes and examine their processes as a best practice and look at that first before we, you know, try to invent one of our own. So.
Can you do that, Commissioner Robinson?
Do we need a vote to ask staff to
bring something back? No.
bring something back?
No, we can do that.
After we choose a developer, and we already have a requirement of the 400 feet. And I was going to base it on that, but whatever, it should be required is all I'm saying. Suggesting that information be disseminated is a suggestion.
Right, no.
P's, you know, is a suggestion.
I just want to know where exactly in the process it is that you want that meeting.
After a developer has been chosen.
After the developer has been chosen. So before they even create.
Sure, because
or plan or whatever.
The creativity of a developer, you know.
And then
CRA had 3 developers to choose from. Hopefully they chose the best. And now we're going to hopefully get the best project. We can't accept the first project. If we're choosing projects out of desperation because,
that's not. Why do you keep using those derogatory terms? You're putting our city in a poor light, and you're not inspiring people that are looking to invest in this community. Quite honestly, in fact,
the best.
So do we all. We all do. And to tell you the truth, some of the language that you're using reminds me back of the old days, when people didn't like the flavor of a fence around a project on Dixie Highway, where they didn't like the look of or whatever, and ticked off half the people that were interested in investing in the community at the time because of one fence. You know, I mean, it's just, let's not go back there. We've been moving forward, and I'd hate to see us go back in that direction. I am totally open to your putting in the meeting again now. So if people meet, if these developers come in, they say, okay, I haven't even made the plan yet, but they want me to meet with the community. So I want to meet with the community. So they're going to meet with the community after they've been chosen, right? So once they're chosen, they meet with the community. Now at that point, we have 5, at least a minimum of 5 meetings that they can have public input after that point. Are they going to be expecting another meeting just for them after the plan is made? Is that going to come back?
I would think it would be up to the developer to meet beforehand rather than after.
Okay,
Spend a lot of money on plans and development.
okay. That's, then if you could bring something back like that, do I have consensus on that?
You know,
I have consensus from the Vice Mayor Pro Tem. Do you have consensus? No?
I'm not comfortable with it.
You're not comfortable across the board? I mean, even for city projects?
I'm not, I feel that the process is working.
I do
And we're
too,
throwing in another, so I'm not comfortable with it.
right? I understand how you
We
feel.
have 5 to 7 meetings, if not more, where the public can put input, but then they don't put input.
And they don't show up for charrettes and they don't show up and the thing, and then all of a
But then
sudden
they
we're not
want-
transparent.
And what
I
it
know.
becomes, I mean, we've all been at those meetings where it's the same 10, 15 people and they're attacking, a developer. And, that's, I don't know that that's the process that we should be going through.
Mr. Robinson?
can I say that, hopefully we're dealing with developers that have had experience with people who aren't 100% in favor of their project. If we're not, we should be. We should be working with developers that know how to build an appropriate project.
Can you bring back anything from another city that shows that?
Sure.
You said you did research on that?
Yeah.
Can you add that to if you're going to put the agenda item on there? I would like to request backup from other cities that have that type of language. City Attorney, did you get that too?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Do you want staff, is there a consensus to work with Commissioner Robinson on bringing forward an item with backup from other cities?
Yeah, we need back. I mean, he's a reference that other cities do it, so I would like to see it.
I'll do the research that you want. I'm suggesting that you think it's the process now, but it's not. If we don't require it, they don't have to do it. All I'm saying is making it a requirement.
I agree with, I understand where you're going with it.
It's like safety belts, you didn't used to use safety belts until it was the law. Or masks. So
We're
let's.
good? We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, moving on. You know what? Let's take a quick 5-minute break.
Okay, Keith, are we on?
Yep.
Madam Mayor, it's 8:05 and we're live again.
Waiting for the
Commission is muted. Okay.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Okay, let's resume the City Commission meeting with item number, letter C, resolution number 55-2020 Municipal CARES Act interlocal agreement with Palm Beach County.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Any description on anything? Anyone speaking on this one?
We can do a presentation, Madam Mayor, if you want, but basically, as you're aware, as the CARES Act money from the federal government made its way to the county, they put it in various pots. Cities like ours who incurred a considerable amount of expenses and PPEs and services and activities, documented appropriately as we do in emergencies. We filled out all the right forms and submitted this to the county. So we're hopeful that this will be a reimbursement that'll be forthcoming. It's over $1 million.
I have a question.
Yes, Vice Mayor Pro Tem.
City Manager, does this include the cost of the production of the 2 or 3 rounds of trilingual flyers that we distributed citywide?
I believe it does, Vice Mayor Pro Tem, anything that was related to COVID expenses.
Okay.
So
And
And it was mentioned earlier, someone mentioned that too, that we haven't done COVID warnings and mask warnings in multiple languages. We have consistently. We
several.
still have
yeah, and
several.
we
Yeah,
did,
he went door to door.
the most recent one we did was with the Thanksgiving, the 1,200 families
And at all the testing sites
and the testing sites.
And
and the food distribution
and the goodie bags,
And the
the hygiene,
20 cents.
the hygiene. bag.
and the hygiene handouts
Right, exactly. Anyway, we're getting low on
and the
those
census.
and we're getting low. I'm ready to go for another round, just so you know.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You've got a motion on the floor in the second. City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor.
Seeing there are none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mayor, I just really want to thank staff, all the departments, finance, everyone for tracking this, the emergency management team. This is the backside of an emergency. It's not glamorous, but it's so necessary. They've done a great job.
And that's why I mentioned earlier too, that about, the distribution of vaccine and all the things that'll move forward after this point. We need to get we were blindsided by a new situation, an unprecedented situation in the beginning. So let's make sure that we have the tools that we need to make sure. Thank you. And then also we moved item, it was C from the consent agenda to new business item D. And F3. Okay. City Commissioner Robinson, you're the one who move it. So
We're selling city property to CRA, which is a little delicate at this tonight. And under consent was a little untoward that we should, as touchy as right-of-ways are in South Palm Park and elsewhere, city property sold for whatever. I'm in favor of moving it to the CRA. I just didn't like the fact that it was on consent without.
I moved to
I didn't see the area that or how we got the property. It's okay. It's 1,600 square feet or something. It's the
less than the size of a house.
it was what?
one at a time, Commissioner.
1,600 square feet, less than the size of a house.
Yeah,
Okay.
Some houses.
yeah. But it was property given away under consent. That was my only issue. I moved to.
I already have a motion I have a motion and a second. All those, do we have any public comment cards? Oh, that wasn't on the original agenda, so.
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, seeing there are none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. City Attorney, did you have a report?
No, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. City Manager?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, seeing there are none. Thank you all. Thank you all. We do have one meeting. The other
Wait,
meeting
you want
was,
to take a motion for this adjournment? I'm sorry.
hold on a second, I'm just saying.
15th.
The 15th is our next,
Regular meeting.
it's a regular meeting on the 15th. So this isn't our last one. We have another one on the 15th. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Don't forget,